Welcome to the Stronger Than Your Boyfriend podcast. We are Heather and Katie, owners of Barpath Fitness, here to help you sift through the bullshit and toxic misinformation that permeates the fitness industry. Today, we are talking about listening to your body. So we want to talk about this because we all want to be able to do this, and we talk to clients about this all the time. In fact, I think any healthcare practitioner or any, person in nutrition or fitness will tell you to listen to your body because it is giving you signals. Mm-hmm. But what exactly does this mean, and how do we do it?
Yeah.
So your body is always communicating with you in some way. Mm-hmm. You have to learn its language, right? And here's the thing though, most of us were never taught how to actually listen.
Right.
We live in this world that's constantly trying to drown out those signals that we get from our body, right? Whether it's distraction, overstimulation, or just plain ignoring what we feel because we don't have time, like pushing it down. It's not that your body isn't speaking, it's just that we've forgotten how to hear it.
Right.
So it's a relearning that I think takes effort and presence and discipline.
Yeah.
As well.
It's really hard to listen to your body.
Yeah, it's a constant practice. It's not just passive. So if you are, shoveling down overly processed foods, drowning your systems in alcohol and other toxins, right? Or sabotaging your sleep every night.
Yeah.
Or if you're treating movement like a punishment instead of a gift, you're not honoring your vessel.
Right.
You're disrespecting it, and you can't listen. So you're expecting your body to tell you what it needs when it's like screaming for help, but you haven't given it the tools to communicate. You haven't earned the conversation you're trying to have.
Right. Yeah. And that's the hard thing is with no one, I think we touched on this in our last episode, but no one knows how to be bored. And with that comes being in tune with your body. And I know that doesn't really sound related, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to try to figure out your body and what it's telling you if you're just constantly on your phone or your computer or watching TV or whatever? So it's a constant challenge. And I think even the most the yogis out in the world, I feel like those people even still struggle because you're just fighting the modern world and modern society. So yeah, I think it's really, it's a good practice. I think it's a really in tune way to live. And I think it should just always be something that you're working towards and striving to get better at. So
yeah, and I think practice is the key word there.
Yeah,
right.
Like everything.
It's going to take discipline, and you have to, in order to listen to your body, you have to challenge it.
Right.
I think that's
true.
Where, like, when I think about a lot of folks that I know that are like, oh, well, my body's telling me that I'm tired, or I don't feel like this, or, I can't do this today because I don't feel X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
If you don't have the discipline already and you haven't already been challenging your body, you can't really communicate it with that way.
That's really true. That's a really good point, because I think we misconstrue what our body is actually telling us. Because like your example, if someone's like, well, I'm really tired, but they haven't worked out in a month, and it's like, well, okay, why are you tired? Are you tired because you haven't worked out? Maybe you should try that. And then it's really hard because there are a lot of, you don't want to mess it up, especially when it comes to something like pain. You want to listen and learn how to react to that, but you also want to move through that pain and figure out that pain. And sometimes, or all of the time, it does take challenging that pain. I'm talking about physical pain here. I guess emotional pain too, but it's any, physical barrier, any mental barrier. You have to take a step back and almost try to zone out and just look down on your person and try to make it objective rather than so subjective, even though it's really hard to do because it's your person. You know what I mean?
The pain one's tough because I feel like we're told, even as like trainers, right? We went through school, they were like, if someone feels pain, stop.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever. But in reality, like as you train more and more, you realize that pain is just a part of life. And if you've ever been in physical therapy, you know that it's not pain-free. Like if you have any sort of pre-existing condition, any sort of injury, and then you go through PT, it's not that you're trying to avoid pain at all, actually. There's a scale that you want to stay within, right? That you can have X amount of pain. But I think people are really afraid of pain.
Yeah.
And rightly so in a lot of ways. Like if you're living with chronic pain, it freaking sucks, right? And so obviously you don't want to make it worse.
Yeah.
But the fear and the nervous system and what you do are all related, and you can't just sit back and hope that it gets better.
That's a really good way to put it, because I do think, we're talking about specifically training right now. I've had a lot of clients who just either, in the past they have pain and then they cancel all our sessions until it gets better. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but what are you doing to make it better? You going to physical therapy? Are you doing something to try and help rather than just taking pain meds and resting? And I think that's mostly society's fault. It was like, your pain, and then the RICE protocol. You rest it, you ice it, compress. Yeah, we should, because hasn't that completely just been like trashed?
Well, yes, the person who created it, the RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation. Is that what it is?
Elevation.
Yeah,
compression.
Came back and was like, nope.
Sorry.
Years later, realized that actually rest and ice specifically may not be the best thing for an injury.
Yeah.
Actually, ice delays inflammation, and inflammation is one of the most important parts of healing.
Right.
So
and that's another thing. If you're blunting that natural response in your body, how are you going to learn how to listen to it? Mm-hmm. So it's really tricky. It's really tricky in this day and age. But I mean, modern society is great, but it just makes this subject that we're talking about a lot harder.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about canceling sessions with personal trainers, because I think there's a time and a place for that, right? Like if you are completely inflamed and movement is impossible and it's, day one, sure.
Yeah.
But honestly, if it's been a few days and you are just like, hey, I know I need to move, but I'm not exactly sure what to do. A trainer is actually perfect if you have a good one,
right?
With a good rapport.
Well, here's the thing with that. I don't even think clients would be like, I know I need to move. I think that you should just trust your trainer.
Yeah.
And just trust that they're not trying to just get that money from you. And that's what I really fear when I'm, I don't like that. I don't want it to come off that way, even though it's not, because I've had clients, I've had this happen, and I'm just like, I do think it would be beneficial if you came in, but I don't want it for that client to sound like, well, I don't want them to cancel because I want that money. Like that's not it at all. No. It's just, if we don't want to cancel all of our sessions, which is bad for the client and bad for business too. It's like, well, we have to move, we have to figure it out. And if you have a good trainer, they're not going to go on as programmed. They're going to, we're going to modify movements. We're going to maybe just do mobility. We're going to do some cat, cow, some bird dogs to try to get you out of that pain. I'm just relating this to back pain because that's generally what I see. But there are a lot of other, the
peeing
pains.
dog.
Yeah.
The peeing dog helps a lot.
I don't think that's as well known. Peeing dog.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's just what it sounds like.
You literally look like you're a dog taking a piss, and you're on your hands and knees and you lift your knee up and out to the side, and then you just extend the lower half of your leg.
But you keep it tall.
Yeah, you keep it tall. You don't want to drop your knee down. Yeah, that sucks.
So, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But what I realize is, like, you typically get that cramp
in your hip.
It usually helps back pain like that.
Yeah.
Like it really, really
helps. So stuff like that. I've got a lot of tricks up my sleeve, clients. So, okay, so I want to talk about, this is really big in the fitness space when we're talking about listening to your body and being intuitive eating.
Ooh.
This one has been just, the controversy around this one is just so, I don't know why it's there, but it has been. I feel like, like 10 years ago when I do feel like it was, either IIFYM if it fits your macros or intuitive eating. And it's like, well,
black or white.
It's everything's fucking black or white, and that annoys the shit out of me. Yeah. So that's not the case. It doesn't need to be the case. You should do both.
Yes.
So intuitive eating is basically just you are trying to listen to your body, even though I don't think people are perfecting that portion when they're intuitive eating.
Right.
Because there's a lot that comes into play with that. So it's basically just you're kind of eating whatever you want with the intention of eating healthfully.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really hard for people because don't we have a full episode on tracking versus intuitive eating?
I think we do.
So we are obviously big advocates for tracking your food. I think that in order to achieve any goal that you have, fat loss, muscle building, strength, health, you want to make sure you're getting enough protein, and people aren't going to do that without tracking. And, if they have goals they want to hit, they want to move, they want to achieve some fat loss or muscle building, you're still probably not going to get there without tracking, because it becomes meticulous at that point. And if you don't know how much more calories above your maintenance calories you need to eat to build muscle, or less, to burn to lose body fat, then it's kind of silly. And you can try to do that intuitively, but the intuitive part comes with trying to listen to your body. So we're talking about cravings, we're talking about digestion, and when I'm talking about that, as far as digestion goes, your gut health is super important. We have a whole episode with Amber.
Yeah.
She talked about gut health. You should listen to that. We're not going to go into it, but that's really important. If you're eating these healthy foods and you're just going to leave it up to that it's healthy, so it's fine, it's good for me. Yeah. But then you're, you really bloated, you have diarrhea or something, that it might not be working for you.
Yeah.
So you might have to take a step back and realize, okay, well, I'm hitting my macros, I'm hitting my calories, and with all healthy foods or nutrient dense foods, but I'm still feeling not great. I'm still feeling lethargic. And maybe you relate that to the tracking. So maybe you're just eating too many carbs and it's making you tired. Or maybe you're eating not enough carbs and that's making you tired. So either one could be the case. So that's why it's really important to do both when it comes to listening to your body. But you have to do that. You should be doing that regardless. But, and as far as the intuitive eating, because, you have, fitness always has camps, right? It's either calories in, calories out, nothing else matters. You can eat, 1,500 calories a day worth of Snickers and you'll lose weight and it's fine. And then you have the other people where it's like, fuck calories, it doesn't matter, healthy foods all the way. And it's like, well, no, neither you are right. It all comes down to, it's all in the middle. Both are important. So, where I'm going with that is you could be hitting your macros, hitting your calories, and then you have all these cravings all the time.
Right.
So it's like, that's something that you're not paying attention to, and then you just give in and you leave a little wiggle room and you leave 200 calories extra at the end of the night for a Snickers bar or something. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But it's like, well, is it uncomfortable? Like, are your cravings so uncomfortable where you have to satisfy them?
Yeah.
Where you're now like reworking your food for the day to fit that in? I feel like that's a really slippery slope for people, when that is fine to do. But I do think that it could get in the weeds with, well, no, I got to make sure I hit my calories or else I'm fucked. And people will go down a weird rabbit hole with that. So it's like, maybe let's address the cravings. Why are you craving? Are you not getting enough protein still? Are you eating, maybe you're just eating an abundance of carbs and not enough fats. If you're not eating enough fats in your diet, you could start craving.
If you're eating Snickers bars,
you're definitely
going to have cravings.
Yeah. And that's another good point. What are your carbohydrate sources? Is it rice? Is it sweet potatoes? Is it regular potatoes? Is it oatmeal? Okay, well then there might be something else going on. But if it's like chips and I don't even know, bread and a bunch of, the processed carbs, that could be a big reason why you're craving it. So I think it's really important to do both. And I'm sure we talked about that in that episode. I feel like that was kind of a long time ago, but it does. We basically talk about what we're talking about right now. Like, you want to figure out how to listen to your body, but I just feel like that's a really big, or maybe not so much anymore, but it used to be like a big thing. Like, I feel like 10 years ago, like intuitive eating or tracking.
Yeah. It's like one or the other.
Well,
calories in, calories out.
Yeah. It's just, So it's like, track every morsel of food. It doesn't matter as long as you're eating less than you're burning. So it's like, okay, it's not
why can't we just say, of course, food quantity matters, calories in, calories out, and food quality matters. Like, both are important.
And I think as far as cravings go, here's another thing that's not even totally related to food. What are you doing in your life at that moment that's causing you to, are you bored? That's when people are craving shit the most, And usually, think about it, when do people eat the chips, the cookies, etc.? It's after dinner.
Yeah. I think you just want a dopamine hit. Like, you just want that pleasure.
Exactly.
Signal. Yeah.
And it's kind of related, if you're going through like a hard emotional time, that dopamine hit kind of helps alleviate that emotional pain. And that's why people, it's not everyone is this way, but that's why people eat, the comfort foods, because it feels comforting in the moment. But then it's like, which is totally fine. We love comfort foods here, once in a while.
Yeah. But you can't keep refeeding that signal. Right?
Yeah.
Because then if you're like, okay, I'm depressed, I'm sad, whatever, I eat the food.
Yeah.
I get the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And your brain relates, okay,
Right.
the food is what's making you happy.
Yeah.
And then you keep going back to the food. So that's, that's the trap.
And I do,
Be careful of.
yeah, I do feel like people have a hard time differentiating hunger and cravings.
Yeah.
Hunger, I like to ask people, well, could you eat a full, complete meal? Could you eat some protein, some carbs, and some veggies and a little fat in there? And if it's a no, and you just want some cookies and milk, well, that's probably a craving.
That was me last night with popcorn.
Yeah.
I was like, I am not hungry, but I want popcorn.
Yeah, and honestly, that's fine. Like, we're all grown-ass adults. We could do what we want, but we're talking about taking a step back and listening to our bodies here. And it's, you want to take control over that, because it is really hard. There's a bunch of processed shit everywhere that we could eat. So in order to take back control, you just take a step back before giving into the craving and just be like, well, why is it happening? What's going on in my life? What am I doing right now? Have I eaten a full meal today? Have I eaten protein yet? So
awareness.
Yeah,
Always creating
exactly.
awareness is the biggest thing with food.
Yeah. So
So let's move into sleep, because
yeah.
basically, in order to be in tune with your body, you have to do all of the big rocks that we're always talking about with food, with sleep, with everything, right? And so with sleep, one of the most important things you can do for sleep, and I know this is really hard for a lot of people, is go to bed and wake up at the same time.
Yeah.
Every day, including the weekends.
Yeah.
This is super hard for people with jobs in healthcare, with people with kids. Like, I get it. This is hard. And so I'm not saying that you have to do it, but the research shows that it's really important if you can try to get some sort of regimen and routine around there. I know it's impossible for a lot of people, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But if you can, try. One thing, if you can't, start doing yoga nidra. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Because it's equal to a certain amount of deep sleep. So
I've read that before about yoga nidra, actually. So
add it in if you can't get consistent sleep.
Yeah.
But, but on the subject of sleep, right? So sleep is hella important. We know it's probably it's like top tier for being in tune with your body. If you're not getting the sleep, your body's all out of whack. You're not going to be able to understand. You're not going to be able to listen. But also recovery in general. And sleep is a part of recovery. How are you feeling today, right? So have you sat around all week and you need to move?
Yeah.
Or have you been moving way too much? And I wouldn't even say you need to sit around. You need to just lightly walk, right?
Yeah.
Whatever
Not
it is.
train super intensely and hard.
For me, in the first thing in the morning is interesting, because I always wake up with a little bit of back pain. That's just with my SI joint injury. That's just how it is, right? And there are two things I could do with that. I could listen to my body in the way that, oh, my back hurts.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do XYZ today. Right? Or I can listen to my body and say, oh, my back hurts. I think it's craving some movement. I've literally been lying down for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And so then I go into my movement, and I always feel better.
Right. I think the big piece of this is the knowledge behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like learning that movement is okay when you're in pain. So yes. So I guess try to keep building upon that knowledge, and when it comes to just learning what to do with your body, but also learning how to listen to your body too.
Totally.
So, because I do think, and I think that you and I touched on this about your yoga practice, is that, intuitive training, I don't really think is a thing, but you can kind of do it. And it's like, well, have you been doing too much yoga and not enough strength training? Or have you been doing too much strength training and not enough yoga? And you can kind of feel when your body wants that. And that's the practice of listening to it through that practice.
Yeah, totally.
Yoga. So,
totally. Yeah. So some things to check in the morning. If you're like, hey, I want to be better at in tune with my body, in tune with my natural clock, everything.
Yeah.
Just look for physical cues when you wake up. Fatigue. Obviously, you just woke up. Wake up and walk around a little bit.
Right.
And ask yourself, what is my fatigue like? What is my energy like?
Yeah.
Am I sore? Am I hungry? Literally think those questions in your head.
Yeah.
It's such a simple step, but honestly, it helps a ton.
Right.
Just to think, okay, what am I feeling today?
Yeah. And the biggest thing to do is just to be aware of that in the moment and ask yourself those questions and try not to think about anything else. Because I was going to touch on that. I think there's a few different components that people need to differentiate between. And I think it's hard for people too. So like you were saying, the fatigue versus laziness. Like, am I recovered? Did I get enough sleep? How hard have I been training all week or the prior week? Do I need a deload? Do I have motivation to work out? And if it's on the other hand, well, then I think, you know, if you haven't moved all week and then you're really tired, and maybe it's time to think, well, maybe now it's time to move a little bit and to get rid of that. And laziness seems a little harsh, but maybe you have been, and that's okay. Maybe you needed that.
Yeah.
But you know, it's you got to sit back and take some practice within that. So I don't know. And then another one is, you know, like we're taking the hunger versus cravings. Are you bored? Do you need food? Like, do you need an actual nutrient dense meal? Because that's another thing I think, or another big reason why people get cravings is that maybe you're just eating a bunch of processed food and you've eaten your calories for the day, but you haven't gotten enough nutrients.
Yeah.
There's a way, you know, you can, you know, those stories where they, like, this guy like ate only McDonald's for 30 days and lost weight. And it's like, okay, and how miserable was he? And how are also his blood markers after that? Like, what the fuck? That sounds horrible. But also, I bet he was starving.
Yeah.
Because if you try to go to McDonald's in a calorie deficit, you probably, like, how dumb. Like, you're just going to be eating 4 chicken McNuggets and a small fry, probably like 3 times a day, and feel so shitty and hungry. So it's like, okay, you can really, really push your own boundaries and limits, but it's like, that sounds ridiculous. So it's, you know, going back to that balance. And then, you know, back to the training, like soreness versus pain. You know, like, are you sore? Are you just feeling fatigued? Probably a good idea to move a little bit. You don't have to train, but you can walk around. Are you in pain? Probably a good idea to move a little bit. Either way. So it's like, well, what kind of movement? You know, like soreness, light walking, great. That'll help the soreness. Pain, now there's some directed movements we need to figure out to help get out of that pain, or, you know, to wake up some certain muscle groups to figure out maybe, okay, that will mitigate the pain a little bit now that these other muscle groups are turned on and activated. So, yeah.
I truly believe that the biggest thing that you have to master before you can intuitively eat, intuitively move, intuitively live, right? Like, is non-attachment.
Yeah. Explain what you mean by that.
You have to master non-attachment.
Yeah.
If you are attached, if you are sitting there and you're like, okay, how do I feel today? Well, I feel stressed.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I feel hungry, or I feel tired, or recognize it, unattached from it.
Yeah, okay.
And then take the action. But what people will do if they haven't mastered non-attachment is they'll identify with it.
Yes.
And then they'll say, well, I'm tired. I can't do this because this is me. I am this.
Yeah.
I am sore. I am hungry. I am tired. I am stressed.
That's a really good point.
And if you keep saying those things to yourself, you're attaching yourself to them. That becomes your identity for the day. And then
yes, that is
then
a
you
really
throw away
good
the whole day.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because
People do that all the time.
Yeah, and that is a really good point, because you really don't think about that when it's just like, well, I'm tired today. Yeah, I didn't get a good night of sleep, but okay. You can
so
have a
great.
You're tired. Yeah.
You're tired.
You're tired.
Now, what are you going to do about it? Move on.
Exactly.
Instead of, I'm tired, last night sucked, and then you just spiral and you keep thinking. You're attaching yourself to this idea of how you feel instead of just recognizing it and then moving on.
I think that humans, I know that humans, as far as our evolution goes, we are wired for negative shit. So it's a discipline and a practice to not do that. Yes. And I do feel like there's a lot of, and it's not like anyone is feeling like, oh, I'm tired, so I'm victimized, but it's just like, oh, I'm tired, like my kids kept me up or whatever. And it's like, okay, that this is just I like to tell people and clients, like, this is just a season in your life right now. So, you know, I have one client, she's the best, and she's got 3 kids, and I know that she struggles with her sleep. I mean, her youngest is 2, and they're all just in that like toddler stage, and sometimes they sleep through the night and sometimes they don't, and one of them comes to the bed in the middle of the night and sleeps with them. So it's like, you know, she's like all over the place probably with her sleep, and I know that it's something that's in the back of her mind, but I'm like, look, give it some time, because there's going to be a time where all they want to do is sleep, and then you can sleep again. And then it's like, you'll have that routine and schedule back. So maybe you're stressed out at work too. It's just a season in your life. But that's another big one where people do, or they become that. They become the victim to their work.
Yes.
And it's like, I just have so much shit to do. And it's like, well, okay, well, you don't have to be on the clock 24 hours a day. So you can try to figure out what your body wants and needs outside of work.
Yeah.
And even if you have deadlines, and even if it's a really stressful time of year, you can't work 24 hours a day. You have to take breaks and you have to do something for yourself so that you can mitigate that stress a little bit. So
yeah, I think my biggest experience with trying to practice non-attachment is the SI joint injury, right? Like instead of, because it's really hard when you're in pain to not identify as I am injured. I am broken.
Yeah.
And you have to get over that in order to heal.
Yeah.
Like you've got to move on. And so that's the non-attachment.
Yeah.
So you can use that with anything. You can use that with intuitive eating. You can use that with intuitive movement, whatever. But especially with injury, it's been really powerful for me. And again, it goes back to breath work and meditation. It always does. But that's how you practice non-attachment.
It's
like
that
from your
important,
thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
And it's just like you can, if you're injured, you can attach to that and you will always be injured.
Right.
You will always baby that thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that you're not going to get very far.
Yeah.
Until you unattach from that identity of I am broken.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. And I know people were they were gonna realize that we were gonna bring up breath work, but that's
it's so good.
It is though, and that's how you're gonna be in tune with your body. You have to sit there and breathe and just try to listen to it.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with scrolling Instagram. Like you just can't. So I think, I don't know, it's a really easy thing to do. Speaking of breath work, I just figured I would bring this up because I was listening to some podcasts and this woman was talking about it, and she had a client like so anxious. She had 2 young boys, I think, which we all know boys are the worst, especially when they're kids. They're like insanely crazy and stupid. And this woman was like, she like couldn't do it anymore. Like she had, 2 boys under 12 or whatever. And she just could not handle them anymore. And then she started doing breath work, and she was like, well, my kids changed. I think they changed, but really it was the breath work, and she was able to handle the anxiety and the stress a little bit better. So I thought that was a cool story to bring up, because it's like, no, I think we're being kids, annoying kids, but it's,
but you learned how to do
you learn how to deal with that season in their life. Like all kids are annoying.
That's interesting.
When they grow up. Like all kids are crazy and rambunctious, and they're all annoying at some point, and they all annoy their parents at some point. But it's like, if you are kind of wired for negative like feelings towards things, and that using that breath work obviously is really powerful. So yeah.
So let's talk about like just a few different like daily check-ins. If you want to be, if you want to listen to your body better and be a little bit more in tune. Yeah. So the first one we mentioned was breath work. I do a little morning and a little night. I try.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget the mornings. It's hard. But just Google it. I mean, 4-4 box breathing.
Yeah.
There's piercing the sun, piercing the moon, Kalabati breath. There's all sorts of options for breath work.
Yeah.
And they have different outcomes. So depending on what you need, if you need more energy, there's a practice for that. If you need to calm down, there's a practice for that. So look that up.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think it's, because I've been doing this driving lately, I haven't been listening to anything. I've just been sitting there and trying to breathe. I feel like that's not that optimal because you're, in a racing car. That I've been trying to like, okay, this is like some downtime that I know I'm going to have. Like I know I'm going to drive. Like I know that's not optimal, but I mean, do you think it would calm your nervous system down enough? Because you are, I don't think people realize that when you do drive, I think this is why road rage happens, is because you're literally in a moving vehicle going probably 60 to 65 miles per hour. And that makes you on edge without you knowing it or not.
Yeah.
Like you have to be so aware. So I don't know, maybe it would just help calm you down when you're driving, but I don't know. I feel like I've been trying to do it a little bit before bed and taking just like really focusing on just, I don't know, at least 5 minutes of just breathing, like deep breaths. But I was just wondering about the car example.
Yes, it can help, right? Because you can use it anywhere. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's,
breath.
I mean,
breath is yours. You can control it. You can use it anywhere.
Right.
Calm down. So that's fine.
Yeah.
I do think that doing it without
any stimuli,
having to pay attention to something else would be really helpful too.
Well, if people did do some deep breathing practices when they're driving, maybe there would be less road rage and accidents.
Totally. I think so. I think so.
So,
okay. So breath work is the first one. Body scans is another one.
Yeah.
So just like scanning your body from head to toe or toe to head, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Again, this can be done. A lot of these can be done like in a routine, like in order, right? You can do some breath work, you can do a body scan, or you can do body scan, then breath work, whatever, at night, in the morning. But just kind of noticing. Again, this is the non-attachment.
Yeah.
Notice, oh, my hip hurts today. Oh, my back hurts today. And then move on.
Yeah.
take a little note of it, move on.
Yes, you are not always a person with hip and back pain.
Yes.
You're just experiencing it currently.
Yes.
So let's figure it out. Yeah.
So those are the two I'm really good at. Let me talk about the two that I suck at.
Okay, I like that.
Unplugged time.
Oh, yeah.
This is so hard for me.
Constantly working.
I am so bad at, like, I'm always on my phone. Even when I train people, I have their program on my phone.
Yeah, but
I'm not looking at other things.
it's work though. Yeah, I get that.
No, it is work, but you're on your phone.
But you're on your phone. Yeah, I get that.
So, and my computer is my job, so I'm on my computer.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to like give myself, because they say if you just reach for your phone right away in the morning, right, it's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
So I am trying so hard to not do that. It is tough.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wait, what do I have to do today? Like, what's the first thing? Like, I want to look at my calendar, but it's on my phone.
Yeah.
And when I pick up that phone, bing, 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 there's all those emails, there's all this stuff. So I am so bad at this, but I want to get better.
But you're working at it.
Sort of, yeah.
Well,
I should probably put my phone in the other room.
That is a
Alarm
practice
clock
that
is
I've
on my
heard.
loop.
Oh, okay.
It vibrates.
Yeah.
And wakes me up.
Yeah. I think it's easier for me because my online work, I can kind of do any time of the day. So I don't have to do it first thing when I wake up. And I just know, like, I'm going to start my sessions at this time. So I try to just get up, brush my teeth, and then make coffee, workout. Like, I try.
Yeah.
But when I work out, I'll put something on my phone. So it's like, am I really, like, to listen to?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So it's like, am I?
Yes, because that's the other thing is like, going on walks.
Yeah.
And then you'll have headphones.
Yeah, and I'll be listening to the podcast.
Which is still like chatter.
Yeah.
And unplugged means like literally just being with yourself and
Yeah. That's hard. Yeah, I feel like it's hard for everyone.
That's hard. That's really hard.
Because I'm like, well, I can walk and listen to this and learn
I know, it's
something.
like I can be productive.
I could be, that's my problem. It's like, well, I could be productive. I can clean and I can be productive. And
Anti-productivity. That's what we're trying to get.
Seriously, I think more people need that.
Yeah.
So just try to be not productive for some point in time in the day to just not do that and not be. Yeah. But people feel, that's because it's American society.
Yeah.
It's like every other country, I don't feel like feels this way. They get ample vacations and ample, days off or whatever, because their healthcare is probably better and shit. And it's like, they just have that time off. Whereas America, it's like, well, you get 2 weeks vacation, you got to work. So it's kind of built into our culture and ingrained into our brains. Like, we must be productive, which I get. We have, very successful companies here, but it's like, well, where's the balance to that?
For sure. And the last one that I'm really bad at, and I don't know if you have experience with this, is journaling. I suck at journaling. Like, okay, here's why. I write slow, and then my handwriting sucks.
Yeah.
And then I get annoyed because I'm like, I can't keep up with my thoughts in my brain.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like, well, I'm not going to type because then that ruins the whole
then
point of
it's
being
unplugged. Yeah.
So I just don't journal.
I feel like, journaling, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, which I shouldn't have any feelings about it. I should just try to do it.
Yeah.
But I just am like, I don't know. I don't want to like write in a diary, but I don't want to.
Then where do you keep it?
Yeah, where do you keep it? Like, I don't
look at it later.
Yeah, are you going to look at it and cringe reading your own words? And I feel like doing like gratitude, like writing things you're grateful for down, maybe like 3 to 5 things. That could be fine.
Nice.
It's just like a quick few sentences.
It's a sentence. I can go fast enough.
Yeah.
Write fast enough for a sentence.
Journaling, is it? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would help. It really would.
Well, it would help with correlations, right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling, like if you write down what you feel, and then you also write down what you ate.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yes.
That kind of journaling?
Yeah. Okay. So I thought,
to me.
yes, that I could get down with.
Right.
Like, I ate this today. I feel this way. I got this much sleep and I trained.
And then you go
Like,
back
just
and look.
writing it down. Like, write the date. That, okay. That makes.
That's like just data.
Yeah. It's
Gathering
data. I think, writing. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'm just thinking of like, we're writing like a passage of like,
Dear
diary. Like back in when I did not have a diary growing up, but and that's how they depict it in all the movies. It's like, dear diary, like Robbie looked at me today, and
you didn't have a diary? Oh
no, I didn't have a diary. Yeah, I didn't have a diary.
You've been gay your whole life.
I've been gay my whole life. I didn't have a diary. That is very true.
Femme bisexual girls had diaries.
Yeah, I did not. I was And still, yeah, I'm very much a tomboy and still have always been.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. For sure.
yeah. Anyways, but I feel like the data-driven journaling, I can get down
Right,
with.
yeah,
For real, especially if you're experiencing like gut issues or you're just always tired or something. I think that would be a really good practice.
Yeah.
And writing it down like
That's
physically.
kind of how I'm thinking of it. Like when I think about MyFitnessPal, Whoop, all this, it's all data.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of journaling. Like,
Yeah.
I think Whoop even calls it the journal now.
Oh.
At the end of the night, you fill out this
cool.
thing and it has
Yeah.
all these things. So it has,
Yeah.
like, are you doing HRT? Did you meditate? Did you take a hot shower before bed? Like,
Yeah.
all these different things.
Yeah.
That is a journal to gather data.
Yeah, I do like that. I do feel like it's so much though, because I
It's a
remember
lot.
Whoop when
you
I
can
had
turn
the
it on
Whoop.
and off though. You can
Yeah, I
you
had
can pick.
when I had the Whoop, it was like you fill out like 53 questions, and it's like, did you do this? And then did you do that? And I'm like,
I do it while I'm brushing my teeth.
okay, that's fair.
Again, though, this is the problem.
You're not.
I'm not off my phone.
Yeah, it's
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 that's
really
a great
tricky.
time to do it because I'm brushing my teeth. So I can
Yeah.
fill out my diary.
exactly.
Journal.
It's an ongoing. It's a
Yeah.
work in progress. So
Okay.
okay. Well, I feel like everyone should try.
Yeah.
Try.
Yeah.
We should all try.
Maybe just take one of these. Maybe it's journaling. I don't know. It's not journaling for me.
Do the
Maybe-
breath work.
maybe
I
it's
think
breath
I
work.
think
Yeah.
that is because it's so easily accessible. It's obviously free. You can do it, and I just think it's so cool. It's the one thing that you can control, and one thing that's automatic in your body.
And it will help your lifts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Talked about
Because we
that.
talked about that in our breathing embracing episode. Like
Yeah.
if you know how to breathe and use your diaphragm in a real, I mean, your diaphragm is always working.
Yeah.
But it's a muscle. So if you know how to train it and use
Yeah.
it well, your lifts will get stronger too.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah. You should breathe. If you're gonna take anything away from this, just be in tune with your breathing, and I think a lot of other things will fall into place. So
totally.
cool. Okay. Join our Facebook group. Tell us what you do to listen to your body, and peace out.